You know, in any big deal, there's always that one moment, the one that can either make your year or just completely tank your profit. It's when the buyer asks for a discount. Well, today, we're going to dig into a pretty radical strategy for making sure you never have to give one again.
Right, this is the age-old question, especially in something like pre-construction real estate. The buyer wants a better deal, but your entire margin is hanging in the balance. But what if the whole idea of haggling, of fighting over the price, was just the wrong game to be playing from the very beginning? Because this is what's really at stake. When you give in to those requests for a discount early on, it's not just a little trim off the top. On average, it eats up 14% of a project's entire lifetime margin. I mean, for a lot of projects, that's not just a cost, that's the whole ball game.
So let's just call it what it is. It's the 14% discount trap. It's this habit that feels totally necessary in the moment, but it's quietly bleeding projects dry before a single shovel ever hits the dirt.
You know how it goes. The usual playbook says, hey, give a little to get the deal done. A few percentage points off here, an early bird special there. It just feels like the cost of doing business. But as we're about to see, that whole reactive approach is just fundamentally broken.
And look, that 14% figure isn't just a hunch. It comes from some serious research by Swiss economist Dr. Pooyan Ghamari. He analyzed $180 million worth of tokenized real estate assets, and his data was crystal clear. Those small discounts were adding up to a massive loss. So he figured there has to be a better way.
And this right here is the heart of the whole strategy. It's not about just being a tougher negotiator or learning some new hardball tactics. Nope. It's about completely changing the conversation. It's about playing a totally different game.
Dr. Ghamari calls this an economic signaling game. So forget about haggling. This is a proactive, really structured way of communicating. The whole point isn't to fight over the price tag, it's to use information like scarcity, proof, and reciprocity to build up the value of your offer so convincingly that the list price becomes the only price that makes sense.
And this is the big shift. You go from being reactive and kind of emotional to being proactive and driven by data. Instead of this zero-sum win-lose fight over price, you're actually creating a win-win scenario that's focused on the structure of the deal. It's a complete change in mindset.
Dr. Ghamari himself sums it up perfectly with this idea. Your job is to build such a powerful, logical case for your price that the buyer chooses to close at list. They don't feel pushed into a corner. They feel like they're making a smart, informed, and frankly, brilliant decision. Okay, so that's the theory, but how do you actually do it? Well, Dr. Ghamari's playbook breaks it all down into 4 key plays. Let's get into it.
All right, the first play is called anchored transparency. This is all about making scarcity real, something people can actually see and feel. So instead of just telling a potential buyer that units are selling out fast, you literally show them in real time.
Take this to buy mid-rise, for example. They pushed a live dashboard out to all the potential buyers who could just sit there and watch the inventory disappear. 37% of the units were gone in just 48 hours. By day 11, they were at 81% sold. The urgency wasn't manufactured, it was organic, created by the data itself. And the result? They gave zero, and I mean zero, price concessions.
Okay, play number 2 is where things get really creative. If you have a buyer who is just dead set on getting something extra, don't give them cash. Give them non-monetary value that feels incredibly valuable to them, but has a really low actual cost to you. Just look at the difference here. A buyer wants a 3% discount. Well, that costs you exactly 3% of your revenue, straight off the bottom line. But what if, instead, you offer them a tokenized yield? Basically, a digital slice of the building's future rental income, projected to earn them 6.2%. To the buyer, that's a sophisticated, high-value investment. For you, the developer, it's zero cash out of your pocket. It's a no-brainer.
So the third play is all about getting ahead of the negotiation. Buyers love to use comparable properties, comps, to try and argue your price down. Don't even let them go there. You need to control that conversation from the very start.
So, before the meeting even kicks off, you arm the buyer with a simple, one-page report. And that report justifies exactly why your property's worth, in this case, a 22% location premium. You use hard facts, newly approved density bonuses, locked-in transit upgrades. You make them argue against your data, not their gut feeling.
Now, for those really tough nuts to crack, the high net worth buyers who are holding out, there's a final absolutely brilliant play. It's called the Future Upside Clause. And this is for the skeptic who's just worried they might be overpaying today.
Here's how it works. It's pretty simple. You agree on today's price. Then, when the building is finished, you get an independent appraisal. If the value has jumped up by a lot, let's say more than 7%, you split that extra profit 50-50 with the buyer. This completely aligns your interests. Suddenly, you're both betting on the project's success together. In one Zurich project, this single clause got 4 super skeptical buyers to sign on the dotted line in a single week.
So you've built all this value, you've justified the price, but now you've got to get the signature on the contract, right? The key here is to create a clear structure for that final decision. And this is it, the 72-hour ratification window. Once an offer is on the table, the buyer doesn't have weeks and weeks to think about it. They have a short, very clear timeline to make up their mind, and it's backed by a small, refundable digital deposit. It really focuses the mind and stops good deals from just dying a slow death.
And here's the crazy part, the paradox. You make that deposit fully and super easily, refundable. A buyer can get their money back in just a few minutes. It's called the frictionless exit, and by making it incredibly easy for them to back out, you actually increase their psychological commitment to stay in. It's kind of wild.
And does it actually work? Oh yeah, absolutely. In Dr. Ghamari's Caribbean portfolio, just putting this timed offer system in place with the easy refund led to a 29% increase in close rates compared to the old, open-ended way of doing things. I mean, the numbers really do speak for themselves.
So, let's pull all of this together. What does this really mean for you and how you do business? Well, it means it's time to throw out those old, dusty rules of haggling and adopt a much smarter playbook. So here they are, the 5 new rules for your playbook. Number 1, let live data create the scarcity for you. 2, swap out those cash discounts for creative value like tokenized yield. 3, justify your price with data before they can even question it. 4, use those short, timed offers to force a decision. And finally, number 5, start measuring your success not by the deals you make, but by the discounts you don't have to give.
And that really brings us to the final big question. We focused on real estate here, but this principle is universal. So think about your own work, your own industry. Where are you giving away value just because, well, that's how it's always been done? What discount are you offering that's really just a failure of imagination?